Welcome. Do I even have a shirt on? Okay, I'm good. I think I'm ready for the stream. Everyone, welcome to the show, RHMax channel. I'm Max, your host, bringing in the bestest of the guestest that will agree to come on and talk about fun technical stuff in the Richard Heart ecosystem. It's been blown up lately. Hedron has been not pumping as much as we thought it would, which it obviously should have done, but blockchains are hard. I don't know, price action is hard. Not financial advice or anything, but it seemed like last few weeks we're gonna get that in. Didn't happen yet. We still got time, I guess, because there's like perpetual auctions. So maybe it'll just who knows? Who knows what it'll do? Bugs happen. Those are fun, right? Those are fun. They tend to change the narrative from time to time, and not that there's anything wrong with that. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about all this fun stuff. Lots and lots of things that happen, not just the auctions the last few days, but yeah, the changes in the game theory and everything else. It's all good though. We're having a good time in this ecosystem. Even got the cups out. Check out the cups. Check out the new cups. Debuted a couple days ago. Can't buy these anywhere. I will not sell them to you. I can't do it. But if you come to a meetup sometime, locally in person, I will give you one for free. So absolutely free, no cost to you. Maybe I'll figure out one day how to give you a discount code so you can just go get it for free online or something. Again, my whole mantra is like, don't want to sell you anything. So you got to stick to those principles. But Sloth, there's a lot of people calling for you in that chat. They may manifest you. I don't know. They may manifest you at some point. We're going to find out. Yes, I do really want it. Bring it, man. Bring it. Can you bring it in like 45 minutes when we have group B? Just kidding. Bring it anytime you want. I'll send you. I don't think I shared the streamer with you, but I will. Cabana. It's my last day in the job, man. It's always your best decision to quit in the bear market, right? Full-time crypto right now, baby. Last day, taking the hat off, walking away right now. No, can't do it. Got bills to pay. Can't do it. I asked for it, didn't I? I haven't used this background for a while, so it's fun. It's fun. Anyways, without further ado, let's bring in today's panel. They go by Team TJ Maxx. First one on the team, GIF.
What's going on, everybody?
GIF's technically on both teams because we're going to keep him here as long as we possibly can. He's kind of like the center of the rotation. People rotate around him because he has tenure and all that good stuff. So welcome to the show, man. It's been a couple weeks. It's been too long.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, man. It's always a good time.
You got your running mate here, based on tenure as well. Blue Bomb, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone.
First time I've seen you in a few days. Yeah.
It's going fantastic. Yeah, really good. It's been an exciting few days.
Yeah, it's been a little exciting, hasn't it? It's part of Team TJ Maxx. You're going to bring it today with you're rocking the T-shirt. Rocking the, I want to call that like a 25 o'clock shadow. I got like a 5 o'clock shadow. You got like a, it's been a while shadow. I like it. You're supporting the brand. I like it very much. And the third one in the group, Cryptographics. Welcome to the show.
What's up, everybody? Good to be back.
Overdressed, way overdressed for Team TJ Maxx. But
I'm sorry, I didn't get the memo. I should have read there must have been a note at the very bottom. I only read the first few lines of the manifesto anyways. So
there's a very elaborate document that I usually share that goes over all the process and all that stuff. No, actually, the doc that I share for these streams that are not the main interviews or other streams is very, very short. So you had the shortest doc to read. You didn't even read it. Congratulations.
Right now, I swear.
There's some important to note. Something about giving away everything you own. No, sorry. That actually.
What?
Funny enough, I just made that up off the top of my head, but that's somehow relevant. I don't know if anytime you want to address any giveaway activities other than the Watts NFT, feel free. Cryptographics. Is that still happening that way? I haven't caught up with you since then. Giving away the bag and stuff.
I'll talk about it when everything's ready. I'll say that.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Because you've been, I can't remember if it happened already. If not, I didn't see my computer explode yet. So I guess that's a sign it hasn't happened. But man, that's a fun time. Anyone says it's not exciting ecosystem to be in. Anyone says it's boring. It's bear market. There's nothing to talk about. Nobody's doing anything. We don't have anything to do. Bring them to the show. Show them because we're going to get into it today. These three gentlemen and the other rotated guests that'll be in a bit. we have two teams. Team TJ Maxx is first up, obviously. Second, Team Gucci. They're coming up. It's kind of like the Richards A and B team, except they're kind of equal in a lot of ways. They have large brains. The clothing style doesn't really matter, but we bring them on the show to bring you the best content possible. And then at the end, everyone's going to be here. The thing I hate the most is having like 8 people on the screen. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Everyone's going to be here. It's going to be a great party, and we're going to see who gets to talk and talk over each other the most. So
nice,
fantastic. You can tell me I've had Americano before I got on the show too.
I was going to say, you look very energized.
I am. I mean, at McDonald's, they give you the tools to become your own boss. Okay, so what
Coffee.
else can you get excited? Yeah, free coffee, free McCafe. That's true. Anyways, guys, I don't know what we should hit first. I'm gonna scroll through the chat here in a second, but everyone share the link. Tag us, please. Please tag us. Get some people in here. We're gonna be covering so much stuff. I can't even breathe properly half the time. The first thing. Maybe we'll just get into like what has happened. We'll keep the bug stuff aside for a second because I want to get into that. I think it's a very interesting conversation because I think things have changed for the game theory and all that stuff too. But just what are we on? Is this we're ending day 2? Is that what it is today?
Yep.
Okay, so we're ending day 2 and maybe an hour and 10 minutes or something like that. Is that right? Around
10 minutes.
Yeah.
9 minutes.
Oh, in 9 minutes. Okay,
Yeah.
An hour off. Okay. So that's right. Daylight savings time. It got me. Yeah, just like Blue Bomb the other day. It got me. That's we'll get to that. Sorry, we're going to get that now. What has happened in the last couple of days as far as notable events in the auctions in particular? Like, what have we seen that's been surprising? What have we seen that's been, has there been a whole bunch of whales that just scooped a bunch of stuff up? How does that affected the executor as well with Poly, or have they done much activity to kind of catch everyone up in the last couple of days? Whoever wants to start off.
Go ahead, Blue.
Well, I mean, it kind of ties in with the bug, really. So I'll just quickly mention it that like there was a bug that was identified, and it just means that people can't get their bonuses when they exit the Hedron or Icosa pools that they normally would have gotten, those whale and shark and dolphin bonuses. As a reaction to that, the SA burnt a whole lot of Hedron, and then they injected liquidity. And the injected liquidity function is basically burning a whole lot of Hedron, but distributing that over a whole year.
Which SA, by the way, the Maximus or Hedron?
There is no Maximus OA. It's the source address. Yeah, the Hedron source address.
Right. Hedron source address. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so what happened was yesterday, because the SA had burnt all of that Hedron and injected liquidity, and all of these auctions were happening, there was an absolute ton of Hedron burnt. And so people got like around 34% of their principal in yield. So people who had been staking the whole 90 days basically just had all of their yield in Icosa doubled in that one day. Amazing. And that's probably the biggest news, and that's going to continue. Probably not as much over the next few months, I guess. And so that was pretty exciting. From getting lots of reports of people getting deals in the range of 40 to 10% off what their value was. And even some reports of even better deals than that. And there's been quite a few fat fingers where people have just way overpaid for stuff. I don't know whether some of them thought they were bidding on T shares rather than B shares, or whether they just literally fat fingered. But there's been, quite a few embarrassing bids also.
Yeah, there's also been a rumor that Gifford hadn't showered in like 3 days leading into this this conference here. So my wife's very grateful that you brought me on today. But no, the auctions have been they've been wild, and yeah, no, Bluey nailed it. It's like what has been really common after you saw the first kind of wave of auctions kind of close out is there was this 25% discount that was fairly common. Like if you were in the auctions and you were just gunning for that 25% off, like you wouldn't win all of them, but you would win a few of them here and there. So when you had mentioned 10 to 40% discount, that was spot on. Yeah, good observation.
Yeah,
So,
and I think some of the bigger ones have even more, or not maybe the same discount, but they're actually making a lot more money because they're such bigger stakes, hey? So the whales are having a good time as well.
Yeah, it's been cool, and I just got a notification today that one of our two favorite whales, you remember Blue, the whale that would bid 6969. I don't know if you remember him from early on. He entered the auctions today. So, and what's interesting is he was like, when I happened to look, he was targeting like 10,000 hex stakes, and I was like, only 10,000 hex in that one. I think he's getting his feet wet or something. I don't know, but he's in there.
One thing I've noticed being in the auctions and bidding is that people kind of get around to the 2/3 kind of mark, and like I know that I've been like getting there and then just letting it go because I feel really good that somebody else is getting a great deal. So people are kind of bidding these up to see, they're not letting them go for too cheap, and they're having that, and they want to get that Hedron burnt. But by the same token, maybe it's just my own perception, but there seems to be a little bit of a gentleman's agreement that, like when it gets up around there, let's not stuff each other up. We can all win at this.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some of that. Graphics, have you been watching the auctions at all, and what's kind of been your take?
Yeah, I've been watching it, not so much today. Day one and yesterday a little bit. Yeah, the biggest thing that surprised me was the fat finger, as we're calling it. And I think what I've been hearing is there's people that have been not realizing that max Hedron is equivalent to your maximum amount of Hedron that you can bid, and people are doing that and bidding all their Hedron by accident. I think I've been hearing that that's what's been going on. So it's actually really unfortunate. I think there's 100 million Hedron mintable stake that went for 8 billion or something like that because the guy accidentally clicked the max burn.
So that's basically that's basically is that a shark? That's a shark, or just under a shark, just blowing the whole bag on a stake.
I think that's almost a dolphin. I think it's almost a dolphin. 8 billion. I think it's still squid, high squid.
Oh, they said 100 billion. No.
Oh, sorry, no, 8 billion. 8 billion to 8 billion based on 800 million was the original.
Yeah, high end squid, about to turn dolphin there.
Yeah,
no, that's wild.
On the UI.
You might have to accept too that there's probably people. I mean, because you as you're getting into these high numbers, if you're manually typing in your bid, like you got to double and triple check and make sure that you didn't add an extra zero or so that could be part of it too. I'm sure there's a number of factors going into play. I've definitely adopted the whole copy paste technique, and I think that's worked good for me at least.
That's a good technique, actually. Yeah, it's so easy to lose. There's no commas in there. So it's so easy to lose track of what's going on so fast. So I don't blame people if they do it, but man, that sucks. It really sucks. But other than that, I mean, it's been cool to see that not many HSIs have been going for very, very, very cheap. Everything's kind of been going above the minimum by a fair bit, which is cool. And I'm just on the site right now looking at it, and there's obviously it's slowed down tremendously. There's only 249 auctions at the moment. 246. They scroll through here.
A lot of them
190 active.
A lot of them are sitting there waiting to be, because everyone knows that like the first bid is not going to win it, and so it's basically a benevolent act to start off.
I mean, as you know, when you go to start it off, it's kind of a little bit of a process, right? Because it has to basically load. You get that little loading screen. I forget what it's called now. But
click.
So definitely, if you're trying to start the liquidation, bring your rows per page down to 5, right, Blue? Yeah. And then hopefully that will speed things up for you. But we saw, there was a good amount of people like liquidating stakes until it kind of led into like the end of the liquidation period, and then people's attention focused. It shift away from liquidating into the actual bidding because they didn't want to lose out on that. So we got, by my count, it's 5,746 that can still be liquidated. So there's still a whole lot of HSIs that could be liquidated right now. So we'll probably see this coming in waves, right? You know, we got the initial wave that was all kind of front end loaded, so to speak. But then, you know, a bit of that mentality was kind of severed because we were assuming that it was going to be super easy to go through and liquidate everything. And because it wasn't, because it took time and you're sitting there and you're paying a ton of gas to do so, we saw that kind of drive like fell off. So now this is really going to get spread out nicely, which is fantastic for the system, I think. You know,
Yeah, and just to reiterate, so if you're exiting, if you've won something and you want to exit, or if you want to start one of the auctions, make sure that you're only doing 5 rows per page, and then it seems to go through super, super quick.
Yep.
Good tip.
Nice.
Yeah, that's an excellent tip because there was people that were super frustrated. Even me, the first time I was trying to exit, I was like, man, I'm trying to bid and like get this exit done so I can get back to bidding again. And it's like, whoa, this is not cool. So that was a great tip. I mean, yeah. Alex had to come tell us, hey, guys, drop it down to 5, and then good old Blue tweeted out. So I saw it from Blue's tweet first because my eyes weren't on the Telegram. So, but whoever got it out, however fast they got it out, I'm glad I saw it, and I'm glad that it works because that was a lifesaver.
It's been nice that the gas has been so cheap as well. Hey, like it's only been costing about $1 or a little bit more to bid.
Yeah, the bidding between $1 and $2, and it would spike every once in a while due to other market conditions, which you start to be real attuned with, right? You're watching the Ethereum gas tracker and you're watching the top leaderboard, and you'll see these NFT groups come in and they'll start doing mass minting on NFTs, and your gas jumps from 20 Gwei to 85 Gwei, and you're like, oh crap, yeah, I'm gonna wait a couple seconds, let this come back down again. So yeah, it goes to show you that it could be quite temperamental, and you can't fall asleep at the wheel. You gotta keep paying attention on what you're paying.
Well, guys, the day just turned over, right? 2 minutes past.
So everyone check your yield.
Yeah. What's the? Can we get a pulse check on the yield?
That's been one of the great things is that it turns out staking could have been the best strategy. Like obviously we're getting deals bidding for them, but if you're just like kicking back and staking, you're just earning tons of yield. That's a beautiful strategy.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, absolutely. The yield has been insane. I mean, if you look at the one, what was it, 1.6 trillion burnt on the first day of the auctions, that is the brunt of the yield that we saw now yesterday. And then you look at the 250 billion that was burnt the day before the auction by the SA, and then the 750 billion that has been seeded over the next 360 days. I mean, the combination of this stuff, man, it's wild. And it's like you see that huge payout and you tell yourself this can't last. And then you go on the auction site and you see the 5,700 more auctions that are pending, and knowing that that's going to get added to every day. Right? As the 90 days from when those HSIs were originally sold the contract, right? So it's going to be increasing. And so what's going to happen? What's going to keep pace? Is the liquidations going to keep pace with the amount it's increasing? I would think so, but that's something to watch.
Yeah, I was planning on holding the HSIs that I won, but after that staking yield, I reconsidered, and I ended up selling back some HSIs to the contract and upping my how much I had staked, because it was just like such a good deal. And it's going to continue it all on, isn't it? Do we know actually what percentage? Like I heard someone say about 40%. Is that correct, Gifford? Like, do we know what percentage of people are recycling the HSIs back into Icosa?
Oh, I wouldn't know for sure off the top of my head. I did see a stat, but I cannot think of it right now.
I think someone said around 40%, but I'm not sure where that came from.
I thought I heard 20. So maybe somewhere in between that. Somewhere between 20 and 40%. Probably somewhere around there. Not as many as you might expect, though. Not as many as I expected. I expected a lot more. I thought people were going to be taking some profits and et cetera, et cetera. But if you think about it, all the people that overpaid for their HSI, the last thing they want to do is recycle that now. They want to hold on to that and hold it and hodl it and wait for that hex price to come back up so it makes their overbid justified.
Well, that's the thing. Hex has been so solid through all of these other crypto shenanigans, just, kicking sideways. So, which is a fantastic sign. And I think a lot of Hexicans are thinking, just hold through all of these shenanigans. Once the bull run comes around again, like the hex bumping is just going to pull everything up. And so hold on to that HSI.
Yeah, Sloth was talking about rewards incentivize people to recycle, producing more yield, further incentivizing recycling. The yield, so everyone loves yield. I mean, but like, what is the downside to all the yield? I mean, just inflation. Like what are some of the things that we're gonna have to pay for later with this happening?
You want to go cryptographic?
I mean, I was going to say probably a little bit of future sell pressure. If we're going to have a mass amount of dollars coming in, essentially, if we're holding this dollar pointer up from here and we're getting these massive payouts per day, there's going to be some sell pressure in the future. And I mean, I think sell pressure is going to be the big thing to hang on to. And after this year mark, if we're seeing a prolonged, stretched out HSI auction like this, and we're getting 20 to 40% of them recycled, and this is kind of a pattern, like the HSIs are going to be continuously moving forward in time. So, I mean, that I don't know if that's going to be enough incentive to keep people from selling, but maybe it's enough, because maybe the auctions are so difficult to. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm juggling with this. This is the first time I'm really thinking about this in the future.
Well, we saw Icosa dip a bit. Obviously, that's or maybe that's because that 90-day period was up, and so people were selling some of that, or maybe. But it's really hard to say, like to bring to the minds of all of this massive people, and you would think that. I mean, I think the first year, like when we have so much, it's really about getting a position in Icosa, because that's when all the inflation's coming out. And the smarter way to play it is obviously not to dump it as soon as you end your stake, but to, keep re-compounding it. And once that year is up, then kind of reassess where the market is and how you want to deal with that.
Well, look, like what I've been thinking about, and I'm remembering this now, is this is kind of reminiscent, at least in my mind. I was not involved in it, but of what I reflected on in Big Payday and Hex. Everyone got a bunch of this large amount of yield, and then there was this kind of up and down sideways action for a while before it finally took off. And I'm wondering if there's something like in Icosa that's going to happen similar-ish to that, where the people who are really in it for the profit are going to move, and it's going to get bought up. There's going to be more people that come out and kind of have a similar action to the Big Payday and Hex. I mean, that's kind of what makes the most sense in my mind.
Yeah, I would say there's two things to look at. One is if you're looking at the mathematical error in the Icosa code that we've been talking about, and if you were looking at from a glasses half full perspective, then you'll see that the majority of the yield in Icosa is now going to, in fact, take place in the first year. Whereas before, we didn't exactly know, because it would depend on when, Godwell ended its stake and got like a 20% bonus, right? And all these bonuses that were going to get paid out. Now that we don't have to worry about that being an ongoing inflationary event going past the 1 year, then I think if we're talking about inflation is good if you're receiving it, right? So in this first year, this is your opportunity to receive it. After that, then it's going to be harder to get over time as the T-share rate ratchets up, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So I think if inflation was a sticking point for you before the auctions, then it should probably be less of a thing now.
Hey, can I ask you a question, Gifford, about I'm not sure if you know, but the injected liquidity function that was set up at the start, just before Icosa was launched. So then the Hedron, the SA that basically burns Hedron, but it distributes that burnt Hedron over that first year. But now that the SA has run that function again, does that mean that from, like yesterday or whatever until for the next year, that is going to be coming out, or is it just distributed over the first year of Icosa?
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's a function that anybody can run, right? So it's a function in the code that anybody can run the seeded liquidity. So essentially what is happening is you take the hedron that you're burning, you divide it by the T-share rate, right? And then I'm not sure if you can specify outside of 360 days. I feel like you can, but I don't know that for sure. I'll have to double check. But essentially, once you set that in stone, it's just the code doing it. There's nothing that can stop it, right? So when the bootstrap got kicked in, that was good for 360 days from when the launch of Icosa started. Now you've got basically a second bootstrap going, and they're gonna be overlapping for the majority of the distribution. But then towards the end, the original bootstrap will end, and then you'll still get a little bit of that bootstrap that we just got, and then until finally that'll end, unless there's any more that's injected. You never know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I was just wondering whether it had to be set at 360 or whether the person could adjust or did adjust. So I'm wondering what the SA did with that injected liquidity that they put in.
I feel like you can input the days. I just don't know for sure. I don't want to say without knowing for sure.
Yeah, I haven't heard either on that one. The best I thought was 360 days. That's what I heard.
So for the next year, we're going to get that Icosa.
Yeah, we'll have 270 days essentially from now of like 25% boost on the base yield, and then it'll drop off to just whatever remains for the last 90 days of what was input with the 750 billion, which is still great, but yeah.
Yeah, and to shout out Steven in the chat, he said that he thought that Icosa would go down a lot lower than what it did in price. And the interesting thing is, if you're tracking Icosa with the B share rate, it basically hit a double bottom at a 10% premium. So I thought that was interesting. It's like, wait, how exactly did that double bottom on a premium? Like, who's watching that? Like what? I thought I was the only one watching that, but apparently somebody else is. And I think the one thing that might have helped Icosa was that the rate of liquidating these HSIs slowed down, so there wasn't as much being run through the system and recycled. I think that definitely has a part to play as well.
Yeah, 100%. And there's now, does anyone know what the liquid supply is of Icosa? Just out of curiosity, I see it's 20 million in the pool. I'm curious what we're up to.
It's only about 1 point something million, I think, of liquid Icosa. You can see it if you go. What's it?
Should be, that almost doesn't. Yeah. Oh, I guess because most of it's inflation, right? It hasn't been counted in.
Well, no.
Right.
Oh, you mean in the pool? That's accrued, so it hasn't been minted yet.
Yeah, just a little over $1 million right now is liquid.
$1 million almost. Okay.
Yep. Almost exactly.
So that actually is interesting, because then the people that were previously having 360-day stakes, that's going to move the tiers down. So maybe if you had a previously massive stake and you have a little of liquid Icosa, you could check to see if you could lower the amount of days your minimum would be by tossing one in the stake when you press create new Icosa stake, and see if you get reduced to the next tier down.
I think we might need a little more.
You're probably better off just making another wallet and dividing them up, because then if you do it under 100, how much is 112? How much do you need in order to only get the 90 days?
Well, let's put it this way: if you did before this liquid supply came in to be, it was about 500 Icosa would lock you up for 180 days. Now you can get in a little over 1,000 in the same lockup period. I think that kind of exemplifies what graphics is talking about. That this is going, you can make moves with your waterfall staking strategy, so to speak, which, mind you, if you were taking advantage of that early on, now with this adjustment in the payouts, you're sitting pretty. You're sitting pretty now. Let me just put it that way. That's where you want to be, in a position where you might be able to compound your yield, right? Because you've got all these wallets that are ending before that 360 day, especially the 180 day stakes.
Yeah, look,
something to keep in mind.
That's going to be the real big dilemma for people, is whether to end their stakes when they come up and recompound, or whether just to keep it going.
That's the question I wanted to get into too, because I had a couple. This one, recompounder keeps the stake going, and also is being Icosa the best play. So much stuff. Yeah, what is the play around this?
You're gonna have to like calculate it out yourself. Is the short like answer, but I'm gonna guess that because the yields have been so high, you're probably better off ending the stake and restaking.
Yeah, and if you've got some sort of ladder strategy, right, where you are taking yield and putting them in your whale wallet, I think if you can compound into a whale wallet anywhere between 6 and 9 months from now, I think that'll set you up nicely going forward. But yeah, do the math, do your diligence on that.
Do you guys think that long term the ladders actually is going to maintain its effectiveness, or do you think that it's only within the first year when the yield's so high? Because the stake points are going to be getting harder and harder to obtain.
So it's TBA, right? Or TBD, to be determined, because we don't know. I mean, look at how much has happened in like the last 3 or 4 days.
Yeah,
like mind blowing.
Yeah, and
now we're looking out to about a year to try to be like, what kind of strategy should we be doing? Like extremely hard to
so in quantify. In a year's time, we're in the middle of a bull. PulseChain has launched. We've got stuff on both chains.
Right.
You're going to be trying to choose what to sell.
Yeah. That's the thing that blows my mind is this is all happening now, and we're like, wow. And then all of a sudden, PulseChain is going to pop up, and it all gets duplicated, and I'm not going to know what to do with myself. It's crazy.
Yeah, come. I'll give you a job at McDonald's if you're interested. I got.
As long as I can make breakfast, if I can make the breakfast there, I'm in. Those hotcakes and the sausage.
Man, I mean, we definitely go organic here. I'll say that it's organic everything.
I mean, the thing is that there's many ways to play it, and so you don't want to be necessarily stuck in one strategy. Like, as I've said the whole time, spread your eggs. Like, don't go all into just one thing. Like, try a few different things. Have some Hedron staked, have some Icosa staked, have some liquid Hedron, have some liquid Icosa, have some liquid Hex, have some HSIs. And that way you can kind of maneuver. So, okay, the yields are amazing now. I was planning on keeping my HSIs, but I've won a whole bunch of them. Maybe I'll just put some of the smaller ones back in to get some Icosa to bump up how much yield I'm getting. And that is also refueling the auctions. And then if you're thinking about accumulating heaps and heaps of Icosa, you kind of have to start thinking as a whale, which is a different kind of mentality, because you want to start making moves that are going to like enhance the whole system, like providing liquidity and things like that, rather than just trying to, dump it all at once or whatever. I mean, obviously there's going to be people that do that, but like, I think it's smart. A smarter play is to have maneuverability.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
What do you guys got to say this? Yield farming on Hex, Icosa pair, high volatility for high potential. Is that, in your all's mind, strategy, pros, cons? Like, is that something you can see people doing?
I mean, it makes sense. Even though there's a high volatility, you can predict where the ceiling is and where it's going to come back to when it recovers. You know where the T-share rate's going to be at all times. Basically, all the parameters of when Icosa is running well, where it's going to be, and you can keep your spread where it needs to be over time. And I mean, if you're expecting there to be high volatility like in these auctions, I think actually if you look at the Hex Icosa pair, like 40K liquidity was removed because I'm sure those guys were thinking, I don't want to hold in here in case it doesn't come back up right away. And then, I got one side wiped depending on the spread. But yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts too. I think it's quite interesting. It could be quite lucrative.
Well, you don't really want high volatility for when you're LPing. What you prefer is low volatility so that you can have most of your stuff in a tighter range. But what you want is high trading volume. Mm-hmm. So trading volume is really what you want to look out for, and how much of a share you have of that pool as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy involved in LPing. I wish we had Wendy's here again, because that guy, he knows a lot about LPing. And there's a lot of other people. I don't mean to single anybody out, but there's a lot of people in this community that know a lot about LPing. And if you bend their ear once in a while, you'll pick up little snippets. But for example, with the Icosa Hex pair leading into the auctions, I mean, what a great time to pull your liquidity, expecting that ceiling to kind of break and for it to come down. Come down away from the ceiling, and just throw a nice little, Hex dip right there to just collect that dip, and you want it volatile in that scenario, don't you? You want that to come down and fill your position as it comes down, then pull it again, let it come back up again, and now you got a nice little profit. What, 30-40% probably?
Yeah,
like overnight.
I'd really. It's hard to time those things though.
These guys, that's all they do. That is all they do is they watch this stuff, and they got tools I've never even heard of before.
That's crazy.
So yeah.
Attendees, Motley, those guys, all the Puerto Rican guys, as if they're Puerto Rican. All the guys in Puerto Rico, they seem to like have this intelligence service going on. It's
I was picturing their war room because they got some sort of war room going on. And I'm picturing like all these hired like interns like running computers and stuff like
perpetuals. What do you got? Sure. Give it to me now. Watson, Polly. Yeah. And they're just like going back and forth, yelling.
Absolutely.
Amazing chaos. Yeah, beautiful chaos. One last one before we switch to Team Gucci. We got to get them in the green room. They're getting itchy. They're like waving at the camera right now. It's out of control. Maxim's like, who the fuck's waving right now? The Watsa dumps in the coming weeks will be amazing. Holding from here a long time. Do we expect any Watsa dumps, and why?
Why on earth would you dump the Watsas after you're collecting so much interest? It's probably in the next week. We're gonna probably reach what you paid for the Watsas. So then after that point you're in profit. And why on earth would you want to sell them? Go ahead, please, but like.
We're saying 6 months until they're back to your principal, but it's going to be like what, 3.5 or so? We expect.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are not a lot. There's enough people that are so disappointed that they're not getting copies of the like whale and stake bonuses, right? That are coming to the Watsas. I think they're a little discouraged by that. I don't think they should be, right? I don't think that they should be, but I think they are. And I think that they're looking to get their money back. That's what I think. So I think once we get up to more of a 1-to-1 ratio, we might see some burns, which will be great for everybody else, right? We want to see that. So it's all gravy, man. It's all gravy.
Under 20K by the end of the year. Watsas.
That's a bold call.
It was all right. Question mark at the end of that.
It's for sure going to be under.
People.
That'll be easy. Oh yeah.
20K mean a lot of different things. Yeah. 11K. I'm praying for 11K.
11K and pray in Watsas.
Ooh. Wouldn't that be nice?
Okay.
Let's play that real quick. What if it somehow so crazy? What if 10K Watsas are burned in the next 4 months? Like what's that do? Like tell people like what does that mean?
Pretty sure this just increases everyone's position by 50% in the pool, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, if they're all on average 1 million points, those are $1 Watsas. Like it's not going to make the real thing is the pool. How much is the pool size going to come down? That's
okay.
What
average size Watsas. They're not all the tiny ones. They're like just average size. Let's say
average.
Right. You're right.
Starts coming down. If the average NFT size Watsa starts coming down, which it's only come down twice, and just recently, where we see a down a point in the chart. Only twice, and it was only a little bit. And that's because large Watsas.
I remember you saying that could never happen to GIF.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You can. People have been selling them for 3 or 4x what they're worth.
Yeah.
So if you've got a Watsa, you're not going to burn it for the Icosa yield, which is not even at parity yet of what, or even if it does come to parity, all that means is you're broken even. Yeah. So people are going to sell them before they burn them.
They'll be worth a lot more, and you get a lot more yield. That's what would happen essentially.
Yeah.
Those two things. Okay. Could have just said those two things. We spent at least 3 minutes talking about it. I bring out the big brains because I don't want to summarize stuff all the time. I was kidding.
Big brains equals low efficiency.
Yeah. Well, you're killing it so well that you got to get rotated in the green room.
Nice.
Sorry, graphics and Blue Bum.
See you guys.
Come back. Stay around though. Either stay in the green room or come back in like 30 minutes or so. We'll get everybody back in the end, like 35 minutes or so.
Sweet.
All right. See you soon.
Peace, guys.
Ciao.
GIF, as usual. We can't not have you. They'll be the last one standing, right? It's kind of how it works these days.
I appreciate that. I think I earned that one day, and so just from here on out.
Yeah, cool. You used to bring slides.
Yeah, those were the good days. Those were the good old days.
It's like, I need to impress him first, so he'll always let me come back. I'm like, all right, well played, sir. Well played. You earned it. You earned it. Let's bring in the first gentleman. He's somewhat new to the show. He came on the other day, but he's been running some numbers, cranking out some stuff, sipping all the juices, and making things work. Crypto Winter Bull, welcome to the show.
What's going on, RH?
What's up, dude?
How's it going?
Good.
Going fantastic. It's going fantastic. You were dressed. You're dressed for Team Gucci. I see. You got the blue T-shirt. It's got like a little Gucci logo somewhere, I imagine.
Hex.com. Let's see it.
Hey, that's even better than Gucci. Hex.com. All right. I like it. Made up Imagine Internet Money. That's a cool shirt, man.
Champion brand.
Champion.
Nice.
That's a subsidiary of Gucci.
I know. Sure. I was surprised I was able to find one.
I've heard of that. And the next gentleman, Maxim Broadcast. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
How's it going?
What's up, Max?
This guy, this is a guy who I think he likes the way he looks. He's got that. His dad is like that guy in a commercial who's just, I think you should come by. Let me put a tie on you. That guy. Yeah. Right. Is your dad well dressed? Is he like one of those gentlemen?
I mean, he probably cares less than I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
That just means he wants to be like he's there. He just doesn't want to show off. Like, all right.
Yeah, I think he's very appropriate. I might overdo it a little bit. I'm not sure.
No. It's Team Gucci, man. You're rocking Team Gucci right now. I mean, we got made up imaginary internet money by a subsidiary of Gucci called Champion over there. Winter Bulls on point. Maxim, you're cherry on top, man. Cherry on top today.
Yeah, I've been watching you for quite a few months, Maxim, and it's awesome to be able to stream with you.
Thank you. I feel the same way. I've loved the ability to talk to people like you guys through this process. It's been really enjoyable for me.
You know where I found Maxim first? I wonder if Maxim knows. On Reddit.
Really?
I think you. The first time I saw you is I think you posted a video on Reddit, and I'm the mod over there on the Hedron group. So like I was going through everything. I was like, who's this guy? Oh, he's new. All right, he's good. Yeah. So I was all kinds of pumped about it, man.
Yeah, I think you might have replied something like, "We need more content" or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that might have been you. That's cool.
UFO says best dressed awards Maxim or Furu. Both of you wear some nice suits. I gotta say that. Both of you wear.
Furu's got the tie going. I haven't gone that far yet.
I told him he needs to start every stream with like, "Have you been injured in an accident?"
Yes.
it would be amazing. Like I will just crack up every single time I hear him say anything in the form of lawyer because he's got the bookcase in the background and the tie. It's very professional. You guys dress up. I can't do it. I'm t-shirt and hat. I'm a t-shirt and hat guy. I do wear gold. I do every once in a while. I do shine. I do shine sometimes. Gotta get the solid one when Hex goes to $2, right? I gotta get the full one, the full deal. I got the simple version right now. But let's get back on track because we haven't touched it all hardly. I'm blue bummed a little bit on the bug, but I really want to, or the bugs. I guess there's been a couple going on. What has changed in the game theory now that first, and whoever wants to take it can take it. Maybe Maxim, since you just came on, maybe he seems like he knows a little bit about it. Like what happened in the ecosystems in the contract, and then how does that change the game theory going forward with them?
So of course we're talking about the Icosa bug, right? That's what you're asking about.
Well, so there was one. So there's the poly bug, and then there's the Hedron bug. So those two, I think, are the ones at front and center right now.
Okay, so you're asking about both of them.
Yeah, you can start with either.
I'll just start going. So the Icosa bug, there was bonuses basically depending on your size of liquid supply that you could get. You were forced to stake when you stake for a minimum of 30 days, and it goes up from there depending on your size all the way to 360 days if you were a whale when compared to the total supply. Whales got a 20% bonus. That bonus was given when they took out their yield. That's when the bonus was applied. The bonus also was copied. When that happened, it was copied over to the Watsa pool. And the bug, became known that there is no bonus. The code was basically broken and that didn't work. And so when larger players take out their yield, they're getting basically what it shows in their account. And there's not any additional 5 all the way up to 20% extra on top of that. It also means that the Watsa pool is not getting a copy of that. They're supposed to get whatever the bonus that those individuals get is supposed to be copied over to the Watson pool. That isn't happening. And so for me, this doesn't really change a lot. I do think it changes potential staking strategy. Maybe there's more incentive to have shorter stakes since you're not getting the extra 20% for having a longer stake. But yeah, for me, it really changes little as bugs go. I think this is a good bug. I mean, it's a bad thing. It's not as what we thought, but I think if we were looking at these projects from the beginning and there was no bonus, I don't know that people would have not invested. I think they may have thought like, well, we're staked longer. Is there something we can get for it? But I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. I also don't think people understand how hard it is to get like the 20% bonus, because it's hard to be a whale, especially in Hedron, and it's counted for when you remove your principal. I don't know that everyone understood that. But yeah, so fortunately, I mean, it's one of those things that we have immutable code. And so the downside is when there's bugs, they're stuck. They're locked in forever, and there's nothing we can do about it. But the good side is, you know, the code is going to do what it is, and no matter what anyone does, it's going to do what it does, and that's the good side. And for me, it does make me just another reminder to recognize this is possible. In well-meaning good projects, there can be bugs, and I think it's a part of the risk that I need to remember when I'm going into something. There can't, like, looking at the project as it's proposed may not always be the real case, and considering the project itself, I think is a value that is just a good reminder. Things can happen. And speaking of Poly, I would say their bug was much more meaningful. They ended up getting 1.6 trillion roughly. Hedron pooling it together. They were going to bid basically 85% of that on HSIs, and they got a number of HSIs and found out that their project basically didn't take into account that the HSIs are not tokenized, and it didn't know how to deal with those. And it basically right now, those HSIs, and I think forever, are going to be locked up, kind of untouchable. I do think they're going to be able to get the Hedron out, I believe, but the Hex basically stake is gone. And so they stopped. They're like, okay, we're not going to keep bidding on HSIs and putting them into no man's land. And they basically became a Hedron staking pool. The SA gave them basically donated a bunch of Hedron to them, so that the Hedron they bid on those HSIs, because it was gone. It's basically, you were supposed to have your Hedron backed by a bunch of HSIs in the staking pool, and all the Hedron that they bid on the HSIs was kind of out of the pool, and it's not backed by anything anymore. Basically, the SA gave them a bunch of Hedron. So last I looked, the Poly was backed by 1.1 Hedron per Poly. So basically they got a 10% bonus, and the SA did a really kind favor, I think, and really helped them out for that flaw. And unfortunately, it's been really cool seeing a number of people, like the community as a whole that I've seen, is taking this really well. And I think because of what the SA did, that really helped them out. And it's interesting seeing how this all plays. Right, last time I looked, the Poly was selling at a discount relative to what it's backed by, the Hedron. And so it's interesting to see. You can kind of see what people think by their actions. And I'm curious, like, I'm not saying to do this. I'm probably not right now, just to be totally transparent, but it could be, you know, if you wanted to buy a Poly off the market, if you're looking at what the Poly is backed by, it's not a bad deal if you look at it that way. The interesting thing about Poly is I still believe they are going to be staked for 15 years. And it's still kind of a question of how confident are you in the system? You know, since you're Poly, you're liquid, you can sell along the way. But I still think that's a real question. And if people are going to hold forever, like in a sense, you wouldn't care what the poly price does in the meantime if you're holding for 15 years, because you know that you're going to get all the Hedron that is backed by out with the Icosa yield. But you know, what's the project going to be like in 15 years? That's a pretty long time. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts.
Yeah. Well, so how does it? So basically, it turned into, instead of backed by HSIs, it's backed by this trustless pool. It's basically a trustless pool token now. What is? I guess what is the narrative? Like, what is the better narrative? Like, would you have rather? Let's say, you know, they never came out with the HSI thing. They were just like, you know what, we're going to do trustless pooling of Hedron. Would you have been more excited of that versus HSIs, and why? Is it price performance? Is it just like, you know, less trusting of executor, blah blah, you know, stuff like that? How would you think about the other side?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. That wouldn't have been as appealing to me personally. I thought the fact that they were going to handle the HSI buying, auctioning themselves was a really big value add. Like, I could have theoretically given Hedron to them, stepped away, had someone that I'm fairly confident knew what they were doing bid on HSIs for me. My time input would have been gone. They have a big pool. They can use that leverage to get HSIs. That was appealing, and that was one of the big incentives for me thinking Poly was offering value. I do think the fact that they're backed by more Hedron is great. I think personally, it for me, it's less appealing, but it's not a bad deal. Like, I don't want to talk bad about it, but
well, should Poly just be the Hedron stake token, and they you know, do another token that fixes the bug, and now we're doing HSIs auctions again? Like, what would you like to see on that?
basically, should they do the same thing again, Poly 2.0?
Yeah, why
Is that
not? Like,
kinda
be
what
like,
you're
you know
asking?
what, Poly, actually, that's just going to be the Hedron stake, and then we're going to, you know, fix whatever bug it was, and then we're going to do the HSI auctions.
It's fine. I mean, if there's a lot of excitement in the community, it's probably a good thing to do.
I think if I woke up
Personally,
tomorrow and saw that, I'd be excited. I'd be like, oh, cool. Maxis
Yeah.
guys. I've said it before. If anyone can make more tickers, as many tickers as they want, it's those guys. You know, according to Alex and stuff too. But like they have a lot of tickers, but they all do something special. So I would be excited about it at least.
and thanks Gabos, by the way, if that's how you say it.
Yeah. GIF Bull, what you guys got?
Go ahead, Winter Bull. You have it.
I personally think that they possibly shouldn't do another token. But if they do, they should take some more time and really audit the code more, do more testing on it. Because they pushed it out in, like, what was it, 30 days or 90 days or something like that. So
I was listening to Dipcatcher just on that, on the testing. They said it was really hard to test because there were no auctions going on the test net. So they had to run these synthetic tests. That was the hardest problem. And they never thought about the tokenization or otherwise. That was the critical thing. But I just wanted to say that, like, that's what I heard the other day on the stream. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no. If it's hard to test, I mean, that's one story. But just going forward, I think they should do a little bit more auditing and testing on future products, because I don't know how long they worked on the perpetuals. It could have been like months, right? Like 6 months or so. But then to push out a product in a month and a half is kind of pushing it, I think. That's just my opinion, but I'm not a developer or anything. So, but I can't say that it's easy. That's for sure.
Sure.
You know what would be a fun one, and I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head here, so there's probably going to be some holes in my logic. But a fun one would be to go back to kind of the maxi kind of days where they start pulling a bunch of hex. Because I think at the end of the day, I think we're all trying to pump hex at the end of the day. Are we not? Isn't that what the whole point of all of this is? So what if, you know, he does maxi round 2, except for this time you add a little bit more code to it. This time you pull up that 150 million hex, it automatically sells it to the Icosa contract, and then takes all that Icosa and immediately stakes it. And then that is for 15 years. That would be interesting. Because
Also,
that's hitting all the branches in
Yeah.
one move, instead of trying to just target the latest and greatest feature, which was the auction.
I agree. That was one of the interesting things, seeing as they were only using some of the contracts, and the way the contracts work, it's all a check and balance. If one part gets worked, it automatically incentivizes other parts. And it was kind of interesting just seeing how they were going to go about it. And it's fine, they can do whatever they want. But I kind of agree with you. That would be interesting to use more of the features and use the whole system.
Also, another idea I have is, what if they made a bunch of different length stakes, like a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 7, 10, 15 year HSI stakes or native stakes, and then you basically just make a token around all of those, and then after a year, 3, 5, 7, 10, you would just come and redeem it. So it'd be like a staking ladder, but inside one token.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff you can do. And, you know, I keep going back to that one of those old videos that Alex was on with. Was it you or was it Sloth? I can't remember who he was on with, but he was talking about how there's a limit to how much code you can put into a smart contract.
That was me. Yeah.
Yeah, of course it was. You have the best interviews.
That was one of my favorite interviews I ever did. Yeah, that was great. I remember like everything we talked about pretty much.
I didn't know that. I honestly did not know that there was a limit, and that and if you're trying to accomplish big goals, that you have to launch things in order. You have to do segments. A segment tested, segment tested, It's like the amount of knowledge he throws out in this community is just awesome. I just love learning from that guy.
It's fantastic. He hopefully I'll get him back on the show too. Maybe there'll be another launch at some point. Let's pivot back to that bug then. Maxim described it earlier. Said, I believe the thoughts were, I'm okay with it. So Gold Key was talking about, I want to talk about that too. That was interesting. Gold Key was, upset about it. And can you explain why he was upset? It was because, was it Poly wasn't going to get the bonuses? Is that what it was at the time?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, if Poly's a big holder, if they think they could get that 20% yield, if that's one of their selling points, right, and they're all excited about it, and then they find out that doesn't even exist, that is a really big bummer. And I can understand the feelings, something out of their control, something that they felt like they could trust, let them down. Gold Key got a little emotional about it, and fortunately I think they've made up. But I understand
that 3-day period was
but that's the risk, is it not? Like, if you're going to come out with a project, right, or a product that you're going to code, a beautiful code, immediately and build it on top of something that's brand new.
Absolutely. Like,
you're taking on all the risk. Don't try to cut it any other way. Like, that risk is all solely on the developer. It's
almost exponential. You have Hex, Hedron, Icosa, Poly. Like that, you could have a problem in Hex, you could have a problem in Hedron, Icosa, or Poly. Like, as they build on each other, the chance for a problem is just greater and greater. And it doesn't mean, don't invest in the project or something. It's just a real reality of how those work. And unfortunately, we saw some of the downside. And fortunately, like I said, I think all things considered, it's turned out pretty well. But I'm just trying to remember this in the future and use my experiences to make good decisions and account for risk accurately. And that's one of my biggest takeaways from the whole thing.
Well, who does it affect? So we talked about it could have affected Poly if that would have went forward there. Who else does it affect? Like just whales, or like just for people out there wondering, does it affect them? Should they be concerned? Does it really matter? Like, what would you say to that?
I think it matters with some strategies. Is that that's what I'm gonna say, Maxim? It's just like some people may have built a strategy, like assuming that was gonna happen. But then it's the same thing again. Like, it's a brand new product, and like, yeah, cool. Like, you were gunning for something, it didn't quite work out. The world's not burning. Rome is still there, right? Like, everything is still fantastic, and you could even see the bright sides that are coming out of this. And I'm not just talking about that first year that I mentioned earlier in this video. I'm talking about the benevolence of the SA. When like the levers that this person has that they can push and pull to make the ecosystem better. The SA could have done nothing. The SA was in their full rights of not doing anything for Poly. Absolutely. But that was not the road that the SA went down. The SA went down the high road and was proving the benevolence yet again. And, Max, I was on your show talking about benevolence and about the SA and the deployer address and what it's been doing this whole time. All it does is prove its benevolence. And we should be very thankful that we have that kind of actor.
I think you literally had a slide called Proof of Benevolence.
I sure did. It's important.
It's amazing. I love that it happened. That's a great thing for the community.
I kind of feel like the 20%, this might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but in my mind, this makes me think of the pennies before trains thing. Like if Hedron works, the 20% Icosa bonus is really, it's going to have meaning, but it's in the big picture, 20% more. I mean, off of one stake is to me not that valuable. Like what I don't know. It's when we're looking at, potential multiples of 10 or 100x or something, I just don't think it really matters. And I want the projects to do well and actually have price appreciation, the little bit difference in yield that really I think only is going to affect a few people, the bigger players. It really doesn't matter that much to me. I want to see the whole ecosystem itself do well, and I think that's where the real money is going to be made.
Yeah, it kind of shook. I was just thinking it kind of shook you, like, oh, be lucky you get any yield at all. Be lucky you get any yield at all. Look what just happened.
Yeah.
It does make you thankful in a way.
Look back at Hex. Just look at Hex. Like at the beginning, like we're all looking at the APYs and stuff, and we're like, this is amazing. Like, look at the yield. And then you fast forward 2 years, and the yield wasn't really that important, was it? It was the price appreciation. So back in the early days, we're always worried about the yield, right? Like just like we are right now. But what are we going to be looking at a year, 2 years down the road? We might not care at all. That was a great point. That's a great point, Maxim.
Let's talk about the possible Icosa value in the future. If you guys, so the Icosa calculator from CryptoSoft. Can I pull up my screen?
Yeah, share it. White's pulling it up. Let's hit the question real quick. It's like from 30 minutes ago. What are overall views of the ecosystem now that we see in the auction function? I guess you could frame it in a way of like, has the auctions even without the Hedron pump that we thought was coming, stuff like that, have the auctions been good for the ecosystem so far? We'll just spend just a couple minutes, whoever wants to take it. And then Winter Bull, share your screen, and then I'll click on it once we're done.
Okay. Yeah, I've shared it now, so.
I don't see it.
No, you don't see it?
No.
Oh, okay, I got to click share.
Yeah. Jump in there, Maxim.
Yeah, so I think the auctions are a huge thing. Ever since Icosa launched, I was like looking forward to this time we're in now. Icosa to me was a potential answer to some of the big problems that I saw with Hedron inflating itself out of value and out of use case. There's a lot of potential pretty cool things you can do with Hedron, like borrow against your Hex stake, that if Hedron does not have value, you're not borrowing, there's no value in borrowing no value. And Icosa came along and gave the ability to stake Hedron, pulling that supply off the market, but also the ability to burn Hedron primarily through bidding on these HSIs. Seeing within the first 24 hours 1.6 trillion Hedron burned, to me, was a good sign. Some real Hedron inflation was burned. We still have a lot of HSIs in the future, but that was more Hedron than I thought was going to be burned, and I was especially happy when Poly wasn't able to bid, and we still burned that much Hedron. When Poly came out saying, we're not going to be able to bid, I was like, shoot, because I was counting on over 1 trillion Hedron being burned just from Poly, and even without them going all in, we still had some. So that was a good sign. I'm still interested to watch for the, at least the next 90 days and see how much Hedron we're burning. It's obviously going to be less because there's less HSIs, but it was also really good to see that 90 days from the beginning of the 90 days basically from now, we have another I believe, over 6,000 T shares in HSIs coming back for hopefully another extra big Hedron burning day. And those are really good signs for the system. We're still early, so I don't want to say too much, but things are lining up to be positive. This is what I was hoping for so far from the HSI auctions.
Yeah, and if I could just add one little bit to that, Max, I know you're trying to move on.
Yeah.
But
No worries,
I got to remember it's Max and Max if I get it. Anywho.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
One thing I think we keep forgetting when we look at the auctions page is this is not a platform. This is decentralized completely. There is nobody running that. Nobody can shut that down. Those auctions are running 24/7, 365 days a year, right? It's just you and the code. That is all that's happening. If you show anybody that, they would have no idea. They would have no idea. And I think a lot of us jump on there. We're like, oh, we could buy this and we can bid here and do that. But the idea that this is all a decentralized auction platform that I have never seen before, we're living in great times right now. This is just the beginning of the stuff we're going to see in the future. Absolutely amazing.
Absolutely, man. It's and just shout out to Alex, Gold Key, Dip Catcher, all those guys. And we're talking about the bugs just to make sure people get the information out there. There's zero shame at all for any of the stuff you all did. Amazing, amazing stuff. You all know I'm big fans, and I think we all are here. And the products you're making, the ecosystem could not be a more beautiful place without them. I couldn't imagine without all the stuff that's been put in there. Amazing stuff. So anyways, just want to make sure people have clarity on what actually happened and how it affects them and stuff. And that's why we get to it on the show. Winter Bull, boom! You got Hex Fire. That's one of my favorite websites up there for Hexkins.
Yeah, I'll pull that up. So,
wait, let me just throw Blue Bem in here real quick. Boom, he's back. He said he had something to say on Icosa, and hopefully that was the right context. So I'll just let him sit here until he wants to start telling you what he has to say after you get through this a little bit.
Okay, sweet. So yeah, this is the hexfire.com website, the estimated T-share rate. So I kind of did it on Crypto Sauce calculator. But basically by 2025, we will have an estimated share rate of, it's not coming up, about 42,000. So come over to Crypto Sauce calculator here and at a T-share rate of 28,000, which is not too far off, a 7-cent hex, we'd be looking at a $3 Icosa at ceiling, or about a $1.08 at a 50% discount. So that's pretty good. And then as you go up in the T-share rate and increase the hex price, the dollar value just continues to climb. So like $33 with a $42,000 T-share rate, 35-cent hex, which is in the near future, within like the next year and a half, I think we could be looking at like a $33 Icosa. So that's kind of crazy.
What do you guys think about Icosa number go up potentially there in a bit?
I'd just say, the ceiling price is going to go insane, and all you really have to do to wrap your head around it is just look at the T-share price, like the price chart. Look at the T-share price chart, right? And then imagine a premium on top of that, a premium that only increases as the T-share rate ratchets up. So the ceiling's gonna go wild, right? But that doesn't mean that our price is gonna follow it. So that's always one thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think the ceiling price, it'll did what happened a couple weeks ago. It'll wick up to there for a day or so and then drop down, and then we'll find like a nice 50% discount or something like that and sustain that.
Yeah, that's the exciting part. Is I like hunting those discounts when the liquidity is low and the price of Icosa drops and people freak out. You would have to assume there's people out there setting liquidity to pick that up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's basically all I wanted to share. So I'll stop sharing.
Very cool.
Awesome, man. Blue, did you have an image you want to share?
Yeah, I just tried to send it on Twitter to you. It doesn't work. But let me just just what I wanted to
I
say
got
was.
I
You
got it.
got it?
But I gotta talk about it. Talk about something.
Yeah,
and
I'll
let
talk
me figure out
about
how
it,
to pull up.
and then you can bring it up. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to go over what the SA did in reaction to Poly contract. What it did was it went and bought 500 million Poly, 500 million Poly, and then it burnt that. And that's what made the Poly go up to like 1-to-1 compared to Hedron. And what it also did was it made an HSI, and it sent that HSI to Poly. And it needed to do that because otherwise no one would be able to redeem that Poly at the end of the 15 years. Because the way the Poly contract is set up is it looks at what the longest stake is, and whatever that longest stake is, that's when that comes up, that's when people can redeem it. And so I went and it sent quite a weird kind of number of hex. It sent 12,046 point blah, 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 blah. So I chucked that into this hexadecimal to ASCII, and that's what the message that came up. So I think like that to me, isn't that the kind of that smiley face on the side? Is that a common kind of emoji kind of thing?
If you put a colon on it.
Okay, I thought it was like that was like an eye and a smile. Like it looked to me like a face on the side. So I thought that was the SA sending us a little message saying he was having fun.
I mean, it kind of looks like a wink, I guess, if you look at it that way. I'm not sure. I don't want to try to read too much into it though, but yeah, I could see that.
Well, I mean, why would it make that amount of hex as the HSI to send?
That's true. Is this more secret messages?
I think that's a message, and it's
They
just a
did it
little
before.
fun, kind of like, you know.
Thanks for that, Blue Blum. I didn't know that happened. That's really cool. I was wondering about how they were going to end, and it sounded like the length of the last HSI was going to be the end of their Hedron stake, and I was wondering how that would work, and I didn't understand this part of the puzzle. So thanks.
Here's a fun coding project for anyone who's interested. Look at all these numbers going by on the blockchain, and then convert them. Make it every time it hits a new one. Convert it into ASCII, convert it into something else, and see if there's anything interesting there, and publish a feed of it, or look at it yourself, and you can maybe there's other messages that have went by that nobody's noticed. So that'd be easy way to put that together.
The SA has a history of sending messages. It's done it a number of times, as Gifford pointed out a little while ago, and so look for those hidden messages.
It's a smiley. I see it. Nice, man. No, that's secret messages. I mean, the SA, they're all the SAs, all the benevolent wells are their characters. We love it.
And just
dip catchers. Go ahead.
Well, just to point out what's he said? The SA must have watched my live streams where I gave clear instructions on how to schedule the redemption phase in the event the executive didn't win any auctions. Yeah, look, I think the SA is all over what's happening in the space, obviously, and it knew how to react to it as well. And like Gifford was saying before, the SA has an incredible amount of levers to keep this system healthy. And so I think that one thing this has shown us is that we're in really good hands. Like the SA has a whole ton of hex from the Wattses. It's got a whole ton of maxi that's going to be hex from the Wattses. And it can, like, if it wants to keep fueling these auctions, it can do that for as much as it feels it needs to. And from what we've seen now, it can also react to actual things that are happening in the world.
Yeah, just going through dip catchers, just a couple things here. I'm very bullish on Hedron versus Hex 15-year mark. I believe he said mark instead of market, but wow.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Bluey, the SA currently holds around, what would you say, like 40% of the total supply? Is that about right?
Yeah, a bit above that, I think.
A bit above that.
Like 43 or 44%, yeah.
So it's burn away. Just just recently, not in that long ago. What, like 3 trillion? Somewhere
One
around there?
point, I think it was 1 point. Oh, well, I think one of the burns was like 1.42% from memory. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how much it has. And then the injected liquidity is also burnt Hedron. So
Right.
it's definitely like playing with its levers.
And what's interesting is, do you see a situation where those powers, those levers, kind of increase? Because I'm wondering, if it's around that 40, little over 40% of its total control of the total supply of Hedron, if over time the markets are burning more Hedron, right? And there are stakes that have the amplified bonus that are getting mint, and it's getting a copy of that. Do you think its power, its position, like its percentage of the total supply, will go up over time? Or do you think it'll go down over time because it will always be looking to keep the system healthy?
Yeah, I think it'll stay where it's at. Just keep the system healthy. Yeah. Which makes it harder. Which makes it harder for us to get to the AMR bonus. But I think people can kind of pretty much kiss that goodbye now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this 500 million loss? What would happen if the burn didn't happen?
Which is just an important point for those. Like, there's a lot of us who, like at the start, we were waiting for that AMR bonus to kick in at some point, even if it's years down the track. I think it's very, very unlikely that it's ever going to happen. And so you're probably better off minting your Hedron and staking it, or getting HSIs instead.
I think you broke up for a second. Were you addressing this question or something else?
No, what I just said was that it's an important point that the AMR bonus is like, it's probably never going to happen. And it's probably just a fail-safe way, way, way into the future. And I don't think it's ever going to probably trigger. So that being the case, rather than, like clutching onto your Hedron with, white knuckle hands, you're probably better off minting it and staking it.
Right. Yeah, I don't think the AMR bonus, I've been talking about it for months. I don't think it's going to come to fruition. And the exact circumstances, we talked about before, but
staking it or using it to buy, these cheap HSIs that we can find in the auctions. Right.
Just this one from Steve Haywood, 500 million loss. I'm not sure if that's the actual number or not, but let's say, because of the bug, SA, did the burn. What would happen if
that's not true. That's not true at all. The 500 million wasn't lost on Poly.
Right.
It's that they started spending the Hedron they had on HSIs, and they spent 15% of what they had. So that would have made one Poly worth 0.85 Hedron, or the other way around, or whatever. But like, but then because of the SA, that brought it up to 1.1. So you're actually doing better with your Poly at the moment, and don't panic would be my suggestion.
And is that because of the burn, or I guess the better question I would be interested in is what would happen if the burn hadn't happened? If the Benevolence wouldn't have happened recently, how much of effect would that have on Poly?
Our Poly would have been 15% less than what you put in. So what it did was it burnt 500. It bought 500 million Poly, minted it from Hedron, and then it burnt that. And what that effectively did was push that ratio so that one Poly was worth 1.1 Hedron. So gotcha. You've done well. You haven't probably, obviously people, were, probably had ideas that it was going to be like Maxi and it was going to go to this, stupid premium, and people are probably thinking they're going to like do a quick flip or something like that. That's not going to happen. And people are obviously disappointed that they couldn't do that. But, if that was your plan, you're planning on just dumping on everyone anyway, and hoping for FOMO. Yeah.
How about this one too? Just the Poly. We talked about earlier with Maxim about the narrative of trustless pooling, that all the Hedron versus HSI auctions, defense cooking, Poly 15-year stake Hedron, not worth when you stake yourself. How much better or not is the trustless the staking you're getting back and the token you're getting in return to trade it about for the next 15 years?
Yeah, look, you probably would have been better off having the Hedron and staking it, especially yesterday, because you got a third of your principal in one day. But that's what's happened, and at least we're not. It makes it so that you're not too much out of pocket, and like as the Hedron is staked and it earns Icosa, that's going to raise how much that poly is worth over time, and have a long-term view of this, you know what I mean? And if you do want to get out, I think at some point you'll be able to get out with your one-to-one Hedron. And look, it would have been better to have the Hedron to bid on the HSIs, especially because there are so many deals going down. So obviously that wasn't the right play, but that's why you don't put all of your eggs in one basket. And also that you realize that contract risk is real. And every time we put our money into a new contract, there is contract risk, unless it's been running like Hex for like 3 years flawlessly. Then you can pretty much count on it. But even then, who knows what happens to some sort of the mathematics of the calculation. Oh, that's actually one point that someone wanted me to point out was that it's actually not a bug in the Icosa contract, strictly speaking, although I think that's kind of splitting hairs. But I'm just going to read out what he said because he's got a point. It said it wasn't a bug. Technically speaking, the bonus still happens. It's just it rounds it down to 0. So obviously it's still a problem. It just shows that it wasn't a contract failure in the sense of core functionality of the contract doesn't work. Yeah, and he just wanted someone to mention that.
Gotcha. Dipcatcher said the SA will gain amount of Hedron donated to poly holders just a few days due to the bonus sharing and Hedron minting. Okay, that sounds like a good deal to me.
At the end of the day, Paul, if Hedron and Icosa and Hex do well, Poly's going to do extremely well too. So not too much to worry about if you think those two projects are going to do very well, which is why we're here. So
do love the positive price feedback loops. That's those things are good. They tend to even when stuff happens, they tend to get made up for by all the other puppet middles and things going on. What we're trying to talk about. I'm gonna there's a few questions, but
just to reiterate also, we're at the cutting edge of stuff here, and anytime you put your money into any of this kind of stuff, there is risk, and obviously there's great reward as well, and it's always going to be a payoff between risk and reward, and so people should just be aware of those risks.
Yep, it's I know when you're building a project based on another new project too, I mean there's risk reward, like you said. There's going to be, I'm just happy these bugs aren't security bugs. They're not lose all your money bugs. Like we should be really thankful for those kinds of bugs haven't happened. The air devs are like super hyper vigilant against those. These kind of, okay, we lose the bonus or other bugs. Yeah, nobody likes it to happen, but man, it's you want 3 scoops of ice cream or 3.5? I'm like, I'm cool with either one.
Exactly. Yeah. And you have to adjust, you know what I mean? Okay, things have changed a little bit, so you adjust your strategies.
So I have a question for you guys. What are you all looking to right now during this time and in the future to get more confidence in Hedron and Icosa? Is there particular metrics that you're hoping happens that may make it you're really confident in the projects or not? Like, are there any particular parts of these two projects that you're looking to through this time?
I think it's the metric everyone hates the most, and it's time.
Okay.
Everybody hates that metric. It's like,
you gotta wait.
If you look at, they hate waiting. People hate waiting. Hate it. If you look at, let's talk about Hex for a second. Hex comes out, right? Flawless, immutable code, right? And Richard Hart constantly was saying, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's immutable, 100% uptime. It was very obvious that he wasn't planning on building something on top of Hex. Was it not? I thought it appeared to me it was pretty obvious. He might go do something else, right? Like PulseChain or what have you. But he wasn't going to build on top of Hex. And then you see Alex, who, as far as I know, was building Hedron for a year. So he was waiting a long time to make sure that that was true, that nothing was going to get built on there until he finally took the plunge and started building. I think it's very important that you respect an ecosystem where there's a builder actively building. And I would hesitate to encourage anybody to build on a project that's not completed yet. And I'm not saying that the ecosystem is currently completed or that there's something else coming. I'm not saying any of that stuff. I'm just saying we need some time. We need some time for some maturity, is what I think. What has been built already is absolutely amazing, and it's melting faces in terms of people who look at what it can do, right? In such a decentralized nature, it's melting faces. So sometimes we need to let that mature a little bit, let the dust settle. But that's just my thoughts. When I'm looking at something, that's what I'm looking at, is how revolutionary is it? How long do we need to sit on it and watch things grow before we start saying, let's jump on the next project that is built on top, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, since I've been in Hex, literally every week, if not every day or two, something comes up, like unexpected, something that you had no idea about. And even though Hex is like a flawlessly working product, there was problems with Hex as well. When Ethereum Gas when the Ethereum Gas forked and chucked up the S load, and then all of a sudden it was incredibly expensive plus the bull, everyone is incredibly expensive to end our stakes, which caused, Richard to go down this whole PulseChain thing. So even when you have a perfect product, other things can happen, So there's risks and rewards constantly. And I agree totally with Gifford. I think time, like I have such confidence in the Hex contract now, and I can't wait till, 2 years down the track, 3 years down the track, when people have as much confidence in Hedron and Icosa contracts.
What do you think, Maxim? Did we answer your question, or did we skate sideways on it?
That's fine. I mean, it's an open-ended question.
Maxim, please repeat the question so me and Bull can remember what it was.
Oh yeah. So I'm curious, because this is what I'm spending a lot of time thinking about. What people are looking to make. I'll say it a different way, to make Hedron and Icosa projects less speculative and actually have confidence that these are going to be around in 15 years, for example.
Bull, you want to take that first?
I'm not too sure. 15 years is quite a long time, but I guess we just gotta keep talking about it and letting the community know, or other communities know, what's going on within this community. Because at the end of the day, if there's no community that's supporting the projects, then they're not going to last at all. So we just gotta keep going with spreading what's going on inside this community. So
I think Dipcatcher just hit it on the head too. We have entire protocols committing to hoard Hedron 15 years. I think just having, and what Bull said about the community, coming around it and just being like, we're going to be here. We're going to be here. We're going to be supporting it. We're going to be buying. We're going to be staking. We're going to go through these cycles, and having faith in a project, the greatest hits like trustless, immutable, no admin keys, all this stuff. Hey, bugs can happen anyways, but you got to be okay with that kind of risk. I mean, this is new, innovative stuff. You got these amazing devs in our ecosystem pushing out code. They can't possibly, find and catch every single thing. I know this from having a dev background too. It's like there's going to be bugs. There's scenarios. Dipcatcher talked about the other day. I mentioned to Bull about one of the about the contract. You're not even able to test certain things in testnet. How can you test auctions that aren't happening? You got to make certain assumptions. So I think these things are going to come. And I think the fail-safe he mentioned too, of saying, okay, if worst case that happens, when you're looking at the code, you have these two things you want to happen. You want a certain percentage to go to the auction, certain percentage to go to the staking. The fail-safe is like, hey, nobody lost any money. Of course, the bonus and all that stuff, but or not the bonus, but of course the auctions didn't happen. But the rest of it just gets staked. So it's like, it's not like the whole thing melts down. At least we have those kind of fail safes, which I appreciate being built in. That's foresight, and that's something I can put some faith into.
Can I say some of my thoughts and have you guys respond?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at really Icosa token itself is my biggest question mark through this process. How will the Icosa parity work? Will it drop massively and never come back? Will it bounce right back and incentivize more HSIs going through the system? Will all this Icosa yield be a problem in the end, as Icosa does not have a burn function? And even though right now the yields are great, over time, when the pools are huge, the return people are going to be getting is smaller. Will the project be able to withstand the Icosa inflation and the Icosa parity through the continual growth of the project? I'm curious if that makes sense, what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, I've thought since the start that Icosa was created as the incentive token, and so of the triumvirate of Hex, Hedron, and Icosa, long term, Icosa was the least. The other two are going to attract more value over time than Icosa, but in this first year, we're incredibly incentivized to be doing all of this stuff, and so I think long term, the more value is going to flow to Hex and Hedron. But for now, it's pretty nice to be in Icosa as well.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question, Maxim. And this is fun. I don't think I've streamed with you before. This is cool. Let's put it this way. You started streaming. Let's talk about like your first interaction with Hedron. You were worried that it was massively inflationary, and there wasn't really a burn mechanism that seemed feasible at the time.
Right.
And then Icosa comes along, and you're like, oh, all right, I'm on board on Hedron.
Yeah.
Where are we at now in the Icosa system? We're in a situation where we got massive inflation with no real burn mechanism.
Yes.
Right? So it should feel familiar almost.
Yeah, it does. Right? I have the exact same thought. I like what you're saying.
So it feels familiar. Who knows what's going to happen? No expectations, obviously. But we almost need to see a little bit of fear and panic in Icosa, don't we? We saw it in Hedron. Remember when Hedron was just going straight down because everyone was dumping this perpetual dump token, yada, yada, get it for free, blah, 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 right? And then what happened? Hedron made its appearance and it bounced, right? So
it
should feel familiar. Yeah, Hedron. Boom. As soon as the Hedron came out. So it should be something that feels familiar. And the only thing that I would add to that is that before we needed essentially hex stakes to collect all that Hedron, right? And what do we need now in order to collect all the Icosa?
I don't know, honestly.
It's kind of a combination of things, right?
Okay.
It's kind of the whole ecosystem there. So it is, you got to have some Watsas, you got to be staked, you got to have your Hedron staked, you got to have your Icosa staked, you got to, there has to be a reason to sell, right?
Yeah.
Your hex stakes to the contract to get Icosa. So this may be a more complex version of what we saw happen to Hedron, just playing out in slow motion right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some fear and panic in the price of Icosa in the near future.
Yeah,
it will just be a buying opportunity.
Yeah, I see Icosa. I see checks and balances everywhere, and Icosa is a part of that. Icosa is an incentive for HSIs to be used, for example, and to go back to the buyback, and that's what's burning Hedron. If Icosa has issues, the Hedron is potentially back where it was before, just inflating itself, and that's what I'm most focusing on right now, and where the most speculation is, where there's an unknown, and this is holding me back from going all in on the project or something. It's really, how is Icosa going to play out?
That's exactly what you should be watching. I fully agree with you.
It really depends on your time horizon. Like even when Hedron first came out, Like I understand that people just thought, oh, this is a perpetual dump token, but I always thought it's gonna play out. Like people are gonna dump it, yeah, but then like over time, because it's linked to the share rate, which can only go up, it's going to become disinflationary. And at some point, it does something very interesting in terms of, because Hex is really inflationary and Hedron is deflationary and disinflationary, and Icosa is disinflationary. So I still think it really, it just depends on your time horizons and how these, in terms of how these things play out.
The one thing that would really concern me is if like the HSI auctions just completely dried up.
Right.
Nobody was bidding, nobody was selling to them, and then Icosa
Yes.
got dumped. That would be a major concern.
Right.
But that doesn't seem too likely. So,
well, it just
All right,
goes
James.
back to keeping the narrative intact, right? All these mechanics are awesome, and you get like these mechanics are revolutionary. Some would say, right? But if you lose the narrative, it doesn't matter how good the game mechanics are. Everything falls apart. So
But
the
that's where
narrative still has to be there.
That's where the SA can keep just fueling it, though.
He can't do it by himself.
It's sitting on a massive war chest. It can fuel the auctions for a very long time. And then,
That's fair.
the maxi comes out after 15 years, and there's a whole nother load of that where it could continue to fuel it.
Hey Max, can
All
we
right.
Yeah.
keep talking for another hour or no? Are you trying to? You keep trying to interject.
I think
You guys are talking real good right now, but we're all going to get. They like you now, but if you keep holding them up from the What's NFT giveaway, they're not going to like you so much. That is a indirect threat from the chat. Somebody said no, they didn't say that. That'd be wild if they did though. All right, let's do trivia because we got to wrap up soon because I got to get back on shift. I mean, these fries ain't going to cook themselves, right? So here's how the game works. RH trivia. So something to do with Richard Hart. I'll say the question. Everyone in the chat, you write the answer that you believe it to be in the chat as quickly as possible. If you have the correct answer, then you win What's NFT, probably around, it's going to be like 10, 12 endpoints, something like that. Not a baby one, maybe like a toddler, maybe like a young child NFT, decent size. You're going to like that yield, right? You're going to like that yield. Yield's pretty good right now. So again, I'm going to say the question on stream. You're going to write the answer in the chat. And the first one that I see in my stream, only my stream counts, because internets and tubes and stuff can go different directions and different orders. If I see the correct answer, the first one with the correct answer wins NFT. And then just message me. If I'm not following on Twitter afterwards, message me and send me your ETH address, and then I'll send it over. So just I'm going to say the question now. Everyone ready? 3, 2, 1. What is the name of the foundation that Richard used to volunteer for longevity research and did that video when he recorded with long hair and a beard like 15 years ago? What is the name of that organization?
Somebody got that right away.
No, that's what everyone thinks. The
acronym or that's full?
Oh, really?
It's not that one. It's not. It's
Oh.
not. I won't say. I'm not going to read the names yet because I don't want to mess anyone up. But it's not that one. Florida. It's not. I'll say it isn't Florida. I'll say it isn't that. Oh, somebody got half of it, which they may get credit for. Let's see. I guess I can give credit because it's so hard to say anyways. It is the Methuselah Foundation. Fasula Foundation. I think you got the gist. You understood like kind of what we were talking about. So I'll talk.
I think that's even more impressive because they didn't Google it.
They didn't Google it? Oh,
Or they would have probably spelled it right.
They would have got the right spelling if they would have Googled it.
That's true. I'm gonna scroll through again and just make sure that's the first one because I've got this wrong before. I know Sins is a great answer, everyone. Sins is a great answer, but it's not the one that he did the video for back then. Very related. I knew that was going to come up, but not quite the one.
Nice trick question.
It's tricky. It's tricky. I'll say that. Yeah, I think you're the only one that. Congrats, Thomas Bakayanis. Congrats, you got it mostly correct and more than anyone else. What else we got? World Health Organization. We got who in the house? Red Bull, nice. ETH Foundation, actually not bad. Oh, Igor got it too, nice. But you were You're later. Oh, we got a couple people here. Okay, Bean, but you weren't. If you're not first, you might as well be last in this giveaway. Unfortunately.
Bonus.
Since I like it.
And who was Methuselah? Is that like a Greek?
Oldest living man, right? From the Bible, Methuselah. Yeah, makes sense, right? Heart Foundation. I certainly hope that exists one day. I'm voting after crypto. Richard's going to start the Heart Foundation and really start saving some people, right?
He's doing a museum. He's not doing a foundation.
You know what? He might have pivoted to museum right now for some glory, but he'll pivot back into medical research eventually. I certainly hope so. A lot of people said sins. Yeah, 44. I don't know what the fuck that is, but Send. I just love seeing people spell sins too. Send. Red Bull can. Beautiful. Sorry, Chad. The Donner Swans didn't get this one, unfortunately. Shit. Who got it again? That one guy. Thomas, please, on Twitter. Again, if you don't, some people have won before, but they didn't message me, so I can't give it to you if you don't message me. So make sure, get on Twitter, at me, at RHMaximalist, say, hey, I'm the winner of the NFT. If you didn't win the NFT, don't do that because that's confusing. And I had a few winners one day, and it was very confusing trying to sort out who actually won. So don't do that. Don't be malicious. But Thomas, hit me up on Twitter, man, and send me your ETH address in a DM. I'll follow you so we can talk and I'll get you square. Any last words, gentlemen? Any last words? What's looking forward? We'll start from top to bottom with Goat, Gift Bull, Blue Bomb, and Max. I'm looking forward for the auctions and Hedron ecosystem. What's interesting? What's exciting? What do you got in 2 minutes or less?
Oh, I get a full 2 minutes?
Yeah, man. You've been on here for an hour and 45 minutes. But yes, you get 2 more minutes. Yes.
I would say the two biggest things I'm going to keep my eye on is the action in the auction, right? And also the relation with Icosa and the B share. I think those two things are fantastic. The chart, the Icosa and B share chart, is super fun to follow right now. So that's interesting. I had mentioned earlier that, seeing Icosa lose its kind of ceiling price for a period of time. I was anticipating days, maybe even weeks until it finally recovers. But at this point, I think it might actually be longer because I think the spreading out of the auction will have kind of a slower effect than what I originally thought. So these are just guesses. I could be completely wrong. I'm usually wrong about prices. So just my guess. But watching the auction is going to be huge, and seeing if because the actual liquidation process is so spread out, I'm curious to see if we actually see a supply shock in Hedron further down the road, as everyone's bags kind of dry up. That'll be interesting. But everything is just looking amazing. The bumps in the road that we got between Poly and the Icosa, mathematical error, not a bug. Mathematical error, right?
I'll take it.
Some minor bumps, right? But the potential is just as big as ever.
Potential huge. What do you got, Bull?
Could you share my screen real quick? Here, I will pull it up.
Yes. If you give me the option, I shall share. Don't see it yet.
Do not know.
Fistula Foundation. There's still people going on about this. Hilarious.
Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Okay. So if you guys are looking at some of the auctions and you want to make kind of like an educated bid, I have a calculator here that fits with the UI for the app.icosa.pro. So you just type in the stake progress, the text, the days, and then the T-share and the bonus. And then it'll spit out the value of the stake that's been accrued in Hex and also the principal. And it gives you the stake value in Hedron. And then you can just enter the bid that is current, and it'll tell you if it's at a discount or a premium. So you can just make a more educated bid instead of just bidding randomly. So yeah, it's been really fun. What I've found is a lot of the 10x bonus Hedron stakes were going for anywhere from like 80% premium all the way up to like 150 to 200%. So just make sure that you're not overbidding. But if you want one of the 10Xs, you might have to pay a heavy premium for it. But it looks like right now, a lot of the stakes that are yet to be bid on are going to be all 0Xs. So I believe that you're going to be able to get some really good deals on some of these 0X Hedron stakes. Anywhere between 20 to 40% is what I've been seeing so far. So those are good long-term holds if you want to hold the stakes long-term to maturity, or you could do the HSI buyback and stake the Icosa in the staking pool. So you have lots of options to work with. So just kind of run the numbers first and use crypto sloths calculator as well. If you want to see the good HSI deals, use this calculator and you'll be able to see the mintable Hedron or mintable Icosa if you're planning on doing the HSI buyback.
Nice. No, I'm glad to bring up all these great artifacts and using Sloth's calculator. Maybe he'll don us with his presence next time as well. All right, Blue Maxim, you got like 1 minute now. You can thank the previous two. If I hear one more knock on my door, it's not gonna be good for me. Okay, make it good for me.
Well, I'll give Maxim the last word because he's got such a beautiful voice, and his question has been swimming around in my head. And I just want to go a little bit old school and just remind people that at the base layer of all of this, hex is the key. Like, and right now is a fantastic time to DCA into hex, and hex plus time is going to give you Hedron. It's going to give you more hex. It's going to give you Icosa if you stake that Hedron. But it really is all built from hex, and where if hex moons, so does everything else. So I just wanted to say that, and I also just wanted to say if the executor happens to be watching, you did get 40 ETH for water and no expectations, but it'd be really nice if maybe you started some of the auctions, because everyone, it's a completely benevolent function to start the auctions because they're going to be bid up from that. And so that's a really nice thing you can do. Also a lovely thing you could do would be to exit the auctions for people, which just means paying the gas to be centered back to their things. And that would really help with the user interface, which, Alex has obviously been working his ass off on, and everyone wants, I can't search for this, or I want to be able to do this and this and this and this. And at the moment, it's getting a little bit clogged up because people aren't exiting. And so that would be really nice. And maybe also, if you really were feeling benevolent, like there's a bunch of 1 hex stakes that people sent for God knows what reason that are just going to sit there forever. And, it'd be really nice if someone who had, tons of ETH and didn't have any place to spend it at the moment, like if they wanted to maybe just flush those out so that the user interface just looks nice and is easier for people to operate on. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Send us off with something good.
So I'm looking at a lot of stuff. I'm curious the macro market and the SBF stuff. What is crypto going to do? Are we going to get some more buying opportunities? And like we said before, I'm watching Hedron be burned. I'm watching HSIs come back to the system. I'm watching the Icosa parity, and there may be some good Icosa buying opportunities. That's one thing that I'm kind of waiting for. And if the opportunity presents itself, then I'm probably going to buy some more Icosa. I'm also looking 91 days out, roughly, or about 90 days out, I guess, where we have roughly 6,000 more T-shares in HSIs coming back to auction. And right now I'm pretty much staked with Hedron and Icosa. And I'm actually looking to that time to potentially have some Hedron available and see how things look then. And I'm really interested to try to play that time well. And I have not purchased any HSIs yet. And we'll see. In the meantime, maybe they're going to go on even more of a fire sale, and maybe I'll be interested. but there's definitely more to look forward to. And
hold on, Maxim. We took the biggest whale out of the entire HSI system, and you still haven't bought any HSIs? We got rid of
Nope.
the executor.
Yeah, no,
By
I
accident.
yeah, I was, yeah, I shouldn't, yeah, I was really tempted
He's waiting for the 10 million ones.
well, I was
That's
really
what
tempted to do, I don't, what you were saying, Blue Blom, and just get rid of the first couple hundred auctions and just at least get them started to get those things cleared off. But if I'm not going to do it, I probably shouldn't say it. But that, I like your comment. Maybe that's a better way to say it. That would be nice if someone did get those 1 hex HSIs out of there.
Secret messages. I like it. All right, gentlemen, you all have been great. You played your part well. You're supposed to come here with big brains, say smart things. I think the chat concurs. You said, and I said the word concur, so you know I'm talking smart, right? You've said very smart things today. Appreciate you all coming. This has been a great stream. Probably one of the biggest Hedron streams we've had so far. I think it's even beat our attendance for 100% uptime, which Gift's going to be pissed about because he owns those numbers. So that just means he's going to have to come back stronger than ever for 100% uptime, number 14, maybe the next few weeks or so.
I see what you just did there.
And he doesn't have to bring anything. There are no expectations of anything from GIF other than showing up and just saying a lot of smart stuff. I know, sad that catchers. Sad. You guys, chat, you've been awesome too. You've been killing it. I'm sorry about your questions. I really try to get to everyone's question. I can't. Once it gets 150, I just can't do it. So also, Thomas Guy, just remind you again to send me at me on Twitter, and so I can send you a DM. So you can send me your address. I can send you the 100% free Watts NFT. Everyone, I'm going to call it a night. I don't know. You guys can go. What's the phrase? You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I'm calling it a night. You gentlemen have a lovely time, and we'll see each other again soon.
Good talking to y'all.
We are out.